Welcome to the Dirty Verdict Podcast, where your hosts, trial lawyer Kyle Herbert and mediator Peter Taaffe, break down Texas legal news, lawsuits, and verdicts. And now, here's Kyle and Peter.
All right, welcome back. Another edition of the Dirty Verdict Podcast. I'm Peter Taaffe.
I'm Kyle Herbert.
And this week, Kyle, we've got our two special guests again, Maureen Farrell.
Kier McAlpine.
Also goes by Kier.
Or Angus.
True.
Or the Angus.
And Maureen
Fangus.
is with, is it Maureen Farrell?
Yeah, Maureen Farrell.
Okay, and Kier is with the Daspit Law Firm.
Daspit Law Firm.
Daspit Law Firm.
Both of them have been kind enough to talk with us at length about some things. But on this segment, we are going to talk about some recent legal news. Hopefully, it'll still be recent by the time this posts, and get some input from you guys.
Is that a shot at our back office?
No, not a shot at all. We do a lot of content, and we try to get it out as quickly as possible. Sometimes we have awesome guests that
Will not stop talking.
yeah, that we just like talking to. So
we don't want it to go stale. All right, lay it on us, Pete.
all right, the first one, and this is not one I previewed with y'all, but I thought it was interesting, and it kind of affects you guys. And
This is the potpourri round.
here we go, your line of work. Okay, Morgan and Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
We all know, being in our line of work, is probably the largest plaintiffs-only firm in the country. Anyone driving around the country, like in other states, have seen them. However, they are coming to Texas. I think they've already established here, as I understand it. I heard Mr. Morgan on another podcast. Our friends Mike Tackla had him on, and he intends to grow it by 200 or so lawyers, probably primarily in Texas. So that is relevant to us in Texas. However, in recent news is, as we know, in Florida, the governor there, Ron DeSantis, is making a push to run for president, and so is pushing some pro-business kind of stuff, including insurance-related reform. And so apparently, I hadn't studied the law, but it must be very damaging in the opinion of Mr. Morgan. So he and his, I think, managing partner has sent out an email to his lawyers saying, "Good morning, PI lawyers across the country," to their firm. And then it goes through this long deal that basically we are not granting any extensions to any defense lawyers, period, hard stop. There's a red line rule, no discovery extensions, no matter the circumstances. This is the enemy that just tried to kill us. No extensions for responses to our complaints, etc. This is a blanket rule. We will not be giving 1 single inch, period. Sign off is LFG, which
Let's effing go.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so
go.
probably a couple days later, after sensing that email would likely be an exhibit in about 5 million motions,
Not little friendly giant.
they clarified that, look, we're going to follow the rules of professional conduct. We're going to do everything we're required to do. But look, here's the deal. We got to fight for our clients. So, I had some views on that. I had practiced, 25 years as primarily a plaintiff's lawyer, and really got to a point in my career later that I learned that I had more success being collaborative with people, and it just made practice actually more enjoyable. And even though I thought I had my act wired pretty well, I recognized that mistakes can be made on both sides, and I knew I would be asking for grace someday, and
That's
so
right.
karma kind of stuff. But what are your thoughts? You guys are all, Kier in particular, we talked about, he's got a docket with some lawyers that are very aggressive, and an insurance company that seems to kind of want to engage in a non-collaborative way with you. So what do y'all think about the Morgan view, and then maybe if that's a good idea, bad idea?
So, on my side of this, I started out my career being really, really, really aggressive. Like I have a veteran of hundreds of email wars with defense counsel, and I've just been mentored by one of my partners, Robert Morse, a lot on just the value of civility and just professionalism and getting along with opposing counsel. Because if you got one of these corporations that's decided that they're not going to pay you until the last court says that they have to, and you as the plaintiff attorney have to go claw the money out of somebody's cold dead hands to get it, it's just not conducive to business as usual. It's just not what you want. So, to me, the idea that a firm that's as big as Morgan and Morgan, and I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I mean, they know their business. Like, they've grown as big as they've grown. Like, obviously somebody's doing something right. But the bottom line is that email was clearly a mistake, as evidenced by the fact that they walked it back fairly shortly afterwards, because a firm that's that big is going to have problems, and they're going to need extensions too. And just, it doesn't make sense to go full Rambo. I mean, like, and plus with judges, man, you can make so much hay blowing up lawyers for being Rambo lawyers. It's not even funny. Like, I've had to file a motion response like related to this recently, and it's just the amount of hay you can make when somebody's being super unreasonable is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I also think that life is short. I enjoy my work very much. I have fun most days, and I don't feel good at the end of the day if I've spent the whole thing being nasty for no reason. And so we take the fights that we need to take to protect our clients. And sometimes that does mean, like, hey, we've got to respect this deadline and there can't be any more extensions. But there are people at the other end of the table, on the other side of the table. And I have always found that when I treat people like colleagues, because we are colleagues in the bar, that I get that same treatment back usually. So, I mean, I kind of like it, like kind of like the bullshiness of it, but it's not the right approach.
I instantly, in some of the commentary on that, I read a lot of the English barristers or solicitors were commenting about how that's not how things work at all over there. And we've kind of lost our, it's America versus England. Of course, there's always we're the swashbucklers and rebels, and
we're also a back-to-back world war champions.
True.
England,
right?
England's never won an SEC championship.
I know that you're a Winston Churchill fan. As I am.
Don't try and confuse me with facts or history, right?
I think that what I will say is that the bar, whether here or in England or whatever, I do think that we owe it to ourselves and to each other to be as kind of collegial and polite as possible.
Yeah, and I'm even put in the motion that I was referring to recently that I put the counsel on the other side of the case on such full blast that I was saying that lawyers that practice law like this are the reasons why there's such a high incidence of substance abuse and such a high prevalence of suicide.
Heck yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
I'm like
too.
roasting this person as hard as I can roast them by saying that, but they were opposing extension, like they were opposing a continuance because we were literally in trial assigned already in another court. Okay, so stuff like that. Like, if you're doing that, you're doing it wrong, and like it's very predictable how judges will view situations like that. So it's like, if you want to piss off every judge that has to like look at one of your cases, be my guest. I'm not going to tell what's his name, Mr. Morgan, that he shouldn't send that email because he sent it and he's in that position. But I'm not doing that.
Kier, just without naming any names, was the lawyer that you were directing that, was it a younger lawyer?
It wasn't. It's somebody we haven't talked about at all, but
okay.
No, it's not. No, different person.
Because I can not necessarily excuse, but understand a young lawyer that's either trying to get business and so they want to be aggressive for their client, or they just don't, maybe their boss has told them to be aggressive and they don't know kind of the guidelines of what's considered aggressive versus what's just unprofessional. But if it's an older lawyer, then
it's a
no
considerably older lawyer, probably got at least 20 years on me, if not more. I mean, but like, I get being like a young lawyer in your 20s or early 30s is you're just like an aggressive, cocky asshole, right? But that wasn't the case here. This is just somebody that practices like that.
Got it.
And it's not cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I am strongly in the position of I never ever make it personal. Never make it personal. And even when the other side attacks me personally, because I feel like when people quit fighting about the facts and quit fighting about the legal argument, they've really given up on winning when they make it about me.
Yeah.
And so when I go in front of a judge and they say terrible things about me, oftentimes I just say, that may well be true, but
I wish you well.
But has nothing to do with this case. And it's not true. And I'll respond if the court wants me to, but I've been in front of this court dozens of times, and that's not true. But I will say this. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I also try and be a completely fair player. Mm-hmm. I tell lawyers up front, if you need an extension for experts or discovery or anything else that doesn't prejudice my client, mm-hmm. I will assume you are doing it in good faith. And I will always agree. I will always grant the extension. But if you lie to me or give me a reason to think that I'm being taken advantage of, everything from there on out will be a fight. I won't be taken advantage of, but I will give you the benefit of the doubt. And to be fair, similar to Morgan & Morgan, there are one or two firms who I have identified over the years as being, they like to play dirty pool. And they will hide records, they will destroy testimony, they will play underhanded tricks. And I will even be honest with their lawyers at the outset of a case. I'll say, look, I just got to tell you up front, this is carry me out on my shield litigation. You guys have taken advantage of the relationship and the way lawyers should respect each other in the past, and it won't happen in this case. So if you ask for a continuance, I'm going to say no.
Do you ever try to get the adjusters involved in that? Like call them up and be like, "Oh my gosh, your lawyers are doing this, and you know what's going to happen long term if they keep doing it." You ever do that?
So what is so funny to me is one of the biggest settlements I ever got was a adjuster was talking all kinds of nonsense about how they were going to win the case based on the way the lawyer had positioned it to the adjuster. And the lawyer had done a bunch of not only underhanded stuff, but boneheaded stuff. And one of the best, this is a real short story, I sent a demand letter that attached a bunch of police reports. And it was a death case, and the police reports had been prepared by one of the few cops in the state of Texas who actually is qualified as an accident reconstructionist. He worked in Fort Bend County. He was the head of auto investigations, and really he could have been an accident reconstructionist anywhere in the country. And I sent a demand letter with those things attached. And the adjuster responded saying really wonderful things about the lawyer that he had assigned to the case and terribly disparaging things about the police department in Fort Bend. And I had not yet had the opportunity to depose the 5 officers that investigated that case. But the adjuster, when I roped him in to say, you say you're ready, willing, and able to try this case and you're going to win. My question to you is, sir, have you looked at all these police reports? Also, why is your lawyer filing her 6th opposed continuance? If you are so eager to try this case, why won't you put your money where your mouth is?
Exactly.
And wonderfully enough, this adjuster flew down here from Boston to attend the depositions where I deposed these 5 officers, one of which was a very qualified accident reconstructionist. And you know that Exhibit 1 to the deposition of Officer Jones in Fort Bend County was, I want to read you a letter that I got from the man sitting to your left.
Nice. There you go.
And I said, this letter says that your department has lacks the training, interest, and common ability to conduct an investigation of the most simple car wreck. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, that kind of sets the tone, doesn't it?
Right. And so if you can rope an adjuster into that process, the crazy thing is people that operate that way based off of probably an insecure sense of bravado, they will screw it up. They will screw it up for you. And your response to that kind of Rambo behavior should be, and I tell my associates here, I say, when somebody does that to you, sit, wait, save every email. Because they're gonna set themselves up to look real bad.
I also think, and seek counsel from mentors and from experienced lawyers, because I think sometimes younger lawyers are very aggressive because they're afraid of being taken advantage of.
Sure.
And
you don't know what's going on.
And you don't know what's going on, and you're afraid that you're going to be taken advantage of. But, better to start as you mean to go on, be polite and professional and intelligent.
Also, I find...
And then go ask Kyle, how upset should I be about this?
Well, and this gives me... I've talked Maureen down from the ledge plenty of times. Maureen's talked me down from the ledge plenty of times. But one of my favorite things to think about is when somebody at 5:30 at night on a Friday sends you a real hateful email, do you know what makes them super angry?
Emojis.
If you just ignore it.
Yeah, don't respond.
Just ignore it.
Don't respond immediately. No.
They will spend till Monday night fuming over why you didn't respond. I've actually had lawyers call me and say, I saw that you didn't have the guts to respond to my email. And I say,
I was busy.
Anybody that does that is
Hold on.
just,
And this is a simple response. I say, I've been doing this for 20 years. Do you know how many cases I've won over email with opposing counsel? The number remains 0.
What's better, the no response or the okay and that's it response?
Yeah.
K.
Okay.
A single letter K. Period.
Guys, I really want to try to sell you on just a string of random emojis.
Yeah.
But my favorite one is the cartwheeling person into the black hole. Like,
Not the worst thing I've ever heard.
All right.
Next
well,
level.
It'll be interesting because we know our judges in Harris County expect cordiality and cooperation. And so,
Yeah, judges are very predictable on how they're going to look at that. So
I got to tell you, when I know a case is going to be contentious about discovery or something else, I will end every email with the same sentence. It is my desire to resolve all of these disputes without court intervention. If there is any opportunity for us to discuss this, please call me. I am at your service. And then, when
you kind of mean it?
I really do mean it. Because like when somebody wants to fight, like, I'm not kidding. I've had associates be like, I'm not giving you the recorded statement. And I'm like,
yeah, you are.
I'm like, hey, dummy, you're giving it to me. And they're
it's
like,
first party anyway.
right. And so like these fights go on, and I just go, and then I just stop and they go, why aren't you fighting anymore? I just go, because I'm filing a motion.
Yeah.
I need X. You won't give it. I know the court will give it to me. And so it's just like so many fights can be avoided by just silence.
it's hard though, huh? 'Cause sometimes you want to fire off and that's the thing about Morgan & Morgan. That's on blast, right? That's a big audience of what was a...
And I used to just not be able to resist the temptation to write this really, really badass, like venom.
And maybe you should still write that or call us up and read it to us.
Horribly like inflammatory, but I don't know.
I'll tell you when I learned my lesson.
Winning's better than sending emails.
I'll tell you when I learned my lesson. I sent a cordial email to opposing counsel. He responded with a profanity-laced email, and then he called me and left me a voicemail where he called me terrible names and called our presiding judge terrible names. I sent that transcript and had it transcribed, and then I emailed it back to him.
But you didn't copy anyone.
Nice.
I didn't copy anyone. I copied him, and I kept a copy of it we had 6 or 7 motions to compel. And we would sit next to each other at counsel table, and I would, my notes, copy of the motion, and then a giant folder that says, this lawyer's name, statements about the judge. And I would just leave it on the desk. I never had to use it, but he knew that if he ever accused me of anything whatsoever that wasn't true, I had a transcript of him calling the judge terrible names.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like proof that...
And I decided that day,
But was that person in crisis? Like, I'm serious. So Kier mentioned it. Like, that's why there's so much substance abuse and alcoholism in the practice. Like, sometimes when you get that kind of like very irrational, aggressive stuff, like those people are like, there are lawyers that are losing it.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
true. I was actually in Judge
my bleeding heart is like, are you okay? And which
I was in Judge Troncali's court in Eastern District of Texas
concerned.
recently, where he was telling me a story. Like, because I mean, I'm in a case right now in Eastern District in Beaumont where opposing counsel hates my case, and they really shouldn't, and they're really wrong about all the issues they want to raise, but they want to raise those issues because they don't like the way the case is set up, and I don't necessarily blame them given the liability that they have, but. The judge kind of picked up on the vibe between me and opposing counsel, and he starts talking about how, it's good in the practice of law to have friends, and it's good to be able to get along with people. And then he tells me about some case where he was a defense lawyer, and he gets a defense verdict on a case against a lawyer in Beaumont that at the time, I don't know who it was, but apparently they had been through a losing streak, and they were in dire financial straits. And after he gets a defense verdict, and then there's a motion for a new trial, and he wins the motion for a new trial. Like the plaintiff's counsel, because he was a defense lawyer, Judge Troncali was a defense lawyer. He goes back to his house or to his office and like shoots himself or whatever. Like it's just like,
it's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's like it's an intense job, and I mean, a lot of us are drawn to it. Like I know I'm drawn to it for that reason.
Because you're a risk freak.
I wouldn't say that, but I mean, I'm competitive. I would imagine you're competitive as well. I get that impression.
No, I'm a risk freak.
All right. Well, we could talk about this one for
Next
a long
one.
time.
Yeah. No, I mean that's like a huge topic for real.
It is. Yeah. That's really a good 30-minute or just on its own.
If either of you three ask for a continuance, I'm not agreeing to it.
I don't continue you. No.
That's smart.
I will slash your tire so you cannot arrive in Carlton. Where does it end?
Unplug your Zoom. All right, this is a case, Houston case filed. Title is rig worker intentionally sprayed with drilling mud over bet for 12-pack of beer.
Do what?
Yeah. So this case, I looked it up because I know Kyle always has a lot of follow-up questions, so now I have to be on my toes like I'm in court. But this one is filed in our friend, or my friend, Latasha Lewis Payne's court. Mm-hmm. She, excellent judge. And so the plaintiff, now he's suing Patterson UTI Drilling Company and Mewbourne Oil Company. So Patterson's the drilling contractor and Mewbourne's the operator of the oil company, as they say. Unclear if he's an employee of the drilling company. Obviously, if he was, then he'd probably have a comp bar. But there's some, as we'll see, there's a note. It's kind of a little interesting because it talks about negligence, but then it says, according to his complaint, he was a cementer, which I hadn't heard that job title before. So it may be another third-party vendor that comes out to cement the well. But he says drilling mud suddenly erupted out of the wellhead, coated his body, burned his skin, caused him to vomit, reports it to his supervisor, and is informed he had been sprayed with the drilling mud intentionally as part of a bet over a 12-pack of beer. And I looked at the petition. It does not expound much more than that. So, which makes me think maybe they did the intentional, because most plaintiff lawyers stay away from intentional because it
Sounds like it
takes
has
out
to be a
coverage.
failure to supervise case.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just
gotta
can't
be
believe
right.
that the victim was not a party to the bet.
Was he one of the bettors?
It didn't sound like it.
Again, I looked and investigated, and barring
I
me
mean,
calling the
inferentially, I
plaintiff
would
lawyers.
assume so. It sounds like it.
Yeah, okay, but I
If
think
he
it's
was,
interesting.
I mean, that's assumption of the risk, right?
That's not an affirmative defense anymore. But I mean, to me, nonetheless, it sounds just like a failure to supervise case, just up and down, right?
Yeah, supervise, manage.
Just like if people are shooting people with mud because of a bet over a 12-pack on the job site, like somebody's like not at home, right?
Can we go from the drilling mud to the OnlyFans case?
Okay.
I know that's-
My
let's
thing on
do it.
that was because when I was in practice, I did a bunch of those cases, and you would think with that equipment, particularly offshore drilling, the equipment is so expensive, and they spend so much money just on the day rate for the rig,
Right.
that you'd think, okay, then they must have some engineers out here, like all.
But
And it's not
you
normal
would-
mud,
you would-
right?
No.
you would-
Toxic,
you
burny
would
mud.
think that, but you've been to Forshawn or Homa, and you know the people that are on those rigs.
Which is completely unsurprising that there would be a 12-pack bet of which the loser sprays someone with drilling mud.
yeah.
And
Right.
to be clear, drilling mud is not just normal mud, right? It has
Yeah.
terrible chemicals in it that burn your skin, right? It's not like a mud pie.
I mean, if you're going to
It's not
complain
Mayberry.
about
What do
it
you
like
think-
that, we're not going to wager over a 12-pack on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think they use to frack the...
well, what? No, exactly. Like if somebody
Yeah,
wants
water
to
and
get
mud.
normal mud on, if somebody wants to give me a 12-pack to put normal mud on me, that's fine. But burning mud, no, thank you.
Not, I mean,
Next level.
Yeah, that's a failure to supervise case. It could work. Who knows?
all right.
Good. Yeah.
Let's go from drilling mud. Yeah.
Okay, well, I keep pulling up the story. and
Drilling
I'm
mud.
Settle down, Angus.
It works.
That's funny. You deserve props, bro.
Well,
Yeah.
I keep pulling up this story, and
you didn't laugh at my Schrodinger's dog reference.
Yeah, but I'm laughing at this.
All right.
was there one of your obtuse references that someone on this podcast got?
I
I
didn't
was
hear
looking at my
Schrodinger's
story.
dog.
I said,
I heard it.
I
It
said
was
I
good.
talked about Schrodinger's dog. I said this podcast has gone to the dogs. I mean,
I did hear that.
But he's moved on from dad joke to real joke with the last one now.
Yeah.
So let's bring on that next case. Bring it
Okay,
on.
so this one, if we're not careful, we could get into rated R territory quick, even with puns and trying to be real smart. Okay, so Judge Gregory Locke.
I don't know. I kind of resent that.
Oh,
That
what?
you think that we would automatically go to some sort of NC-17 situation. We are.
I just said rated
He
R.
said rated R.
We are grown-up adults and members of the bar in at least 2 countries.
It was more of kind of a warning shot or warning.
All right. Okay, Dad.
Okay.
Proceed.
Administrative law judge Gregory Locke was fired last month from his job. He's an administrative law judge in New York. Apparently paid $58 an hour to adjudicate traffic tickets, but not anymore. because, well, there may be some posturing going on to set up a claim of some kind, because some stories I've seen, he was fired because he tweeted that a New York City councilwoman, Vicky Palladino, who is at least according to him, anti-LGBT positioning, he tweeted that she should choke on a DICK.
Whoa. That's aggressive.
And that's why he was terminated. Other places suggest that he was terminated because it was found that he has an OnlyFans page. And it was not kind where he's talking about how fun it is to adjudicate traffic tickets for $58 an hour. It was more about some pretty detailed sexual stuff. And of course, I now have a story up with his pictures, so I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of advertisements.
So we can't really describe this we can't show our fans because this is a audio medium. Could you describe the photos you're looking at? Can you describe the photos of Judge Locke?
I mean, he's a handsome guy.
Is
I
he a
can say
handsome
that as a
fella?
happily married man and father of 4 adult children. I mean, he's a handsome guy. No matter, I can say that.
Okay.
But we talked offline about what kinds of things are on his OnlyFans page. Not my thing.
So,
Not your thing.
yeah.
Not will ever be my thing, but it is what it is.
I mean, offline, my original position was like, look, what is it necessarily bringing the profession into disrepute to have an OnlyFans page per se?
Probably.
And Peter was like,
I think he's pretty blatant about it, right? He says professional during the day,
very unprofessional at night.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that I would certainly be concerned about the thing that just happened to him happening to me if I were to do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Well, maybe they should pay him more than $58 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Well, he seems to be kind of making light of it because he posted afterwards a bunch of or a video.
He's probably
of
making
him.
a lot more money than that on OnlyFans.
$12 a month, according to the story.
$12 a month?
$12 a month, but he has there's apparently another.
That can't be right.
That's probably how much it costs to subscribe to his OnlyFans.
Yes, yeah.
Not
I'm sorry,
how much he's making.
per subscriber, right?
Yeah.
He's making more than $12 a month on his OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
I mean, just based on the photos alone, all right.
Yeah, there's apparently another one that's like OnlyFans that I didn't know. I can't find it in this story, but it was like maybe $10 an hour for that, or $10 a month for that one.
Your suggested searches are going to be a hot mess for the next few days.
Yeah, I need to have our podcast producer come clean my computer.
Sorry for partying, right?
This is in the interest of bringing legal news to the public. So,
but also, I don't like the practice of, you said something bad, and so now I'm going to shop you and be a big narc.
Whatever. It's all fair game. They're all public figures. So, I mean, I don't disagree in general, but nonetheless, it's a dirty game. They're all playing it.
He shouldn't have told her to suck on a, what?
I just think Twitter engenders such behavior.
Yeah. So just to lay out the timeline, they have some sort of political dispute over LGBTQ issues. He says to her in a public venue, "Suck a fatty," and she then outs him.
She means like you do on OnlyFans.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
And he's like,
yeah.
LOL.
He's like base.
LOL. Right.
He's like,
I would dodge.
Based in
100%.
All right.
And so, to be fair, if you are an attorney out there listening, there's a chance that if you don't refer cases to Herbert Law Firm, I'm going to have to get an OnlyFans page. That's not a threat. That's just reality. So,
I mean, if you've looked at your TikTok, it's you can see the direction that you're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a downward spiral. Right?
Yeah.
So
anything for clicks.
let's do it. I'm all about content.
So what's the next one? 50 Cent?
We're going to go quick.
Yeah, go 50 Cent.
We're going to
50
go quick because we've
I
been
have an
going a while.
observation about that one.
Okay, so 50 Cent, we've talked about that one. I was going to do some background music, but we're rolling.
Yep.
We talked about the lawsuit he filed.
Get rich or die trying.
Where it was alluded to that maybe he had gone to a med spa for a penile implant. So he sued the med spa and the blog or the news site that had implied that. Now, last when we brought it up, one had settled the news site. The med spa had not, but they went to mediation and apparently settled at mediation. So, Kier, you have some thoughts about that case?
Yeah, I mean, there's just some cases that are worth more money pre-suit. Like if you settle them pre-suit, they're actually worth more money than they are if you file them. Like we file a lot of cases, right? Like we file a lot of cases. I mean, we know that a lot of cases that involve like insurance directly, you got to file it. Otherwise, you don't have an adjuster with proper authority to evaluate the case. You don't have anybody that knows what they're doing. You got a frontline adjuster that doesn't know anything. But it's important to think about whether or not any given case that you have is one that could be worth more money pre-suit. And I would think that that's something that should have been considered here, is that they should have thought about, like, could we get a better deal resolving this if we don't have to file?
Well, he was the plaintiff.
Yeah,
so
I know,
he's got plenty of money.
That's true, but I just still think that this is one of those ones where
You want to firm up the facts beforehand.
Well, how about
how
about this? He doesn't file the lawsuit. We're not talking about it, right? Because
Absolutely.
there's the readership of the source or whatever it was called, very small. But I found it through numerous.
Do you feel like
sites.
he's like playing double reverse chess? Like people could just never know that I'm related to this
Could be.
penis problem clinic, or I can prove that I don't have a penis problem by suing this penis clinic.
Listen, suing someone is never, and I say this as a lawyer who loves,
As a
it's
litigant.
never the cool thing to do. Do you know what I mean? That's never the low key cool. Like,
fair enough. Yeah, I
cool
agree
thing to
with
do.
that.
But-
50 Cent should have been like, listen,
I think you'd feel
I don't have a
different
problem.
if it was your birthday, Shorty.
Kier raised a good point. I'm thinking through, like, we've talked about the Deshaun Watson stuff where this is all public. This isn't any inside information that I have. Public, that Busby had tried to settle the case for one of them for $100,000, and they kind of roped it, kind of blew him off. And then next thing you know, there's 20 something plaintiffs, and no one knows what the settlement terms were. But everyone can make their
That's not true.
assumption.
Some people know what they are.
Yeah. So some do, but we know that he obviously spent a lot of money in legal fees, took on a lot of reputational damage.
A
through that
lot of
process.
reputational damage.
Yeah. So he got his contract in the meantime, so he's fine. But I would suspect that all things being equal, his camp wishes that they would have taken option one that
And
Busby gave him.
I think that 50 Cent's got the resources to drag whatever med spa this is through the mud, and they probably might regret not settling it.
It's a hard case either way.
well, and hats off. Hats off to the
Lols.
mediators of the world.
There you go.
Like Peter.
There you go.
Getting
Finding
it done.
the solutions.
Finding satisfaction for all parties.
We're going to hit a couple more. Last one we talked about, I think a couple times ago, was Gwyneth Paltrow. She ended up winning her trial, or at least she got $1. There's some thought that maybe she could recover attorney's fees, so there
heard
may
that.
be some more shoes to drop.
She's a rude person.
The best part of that is as she left, and she said, "I wish you well."
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Gwyneth Paltrow.
What do you mean she's a rude person?
She's just not a very nice person.
Have you met her? Do you have her address? Do you have her phone? Like, do you guys hang out?
Negative. I don't have. I'm not relying on my own personal knowledge, but I just have that opinion nonetheless. I have the expert opinion,
So
I'm
did-
allowed to speculate.
Did you watch any of this? Man, I had that objection yesterday in a depot. Calls for speculation. He's an expert. Anyway.
Yeah. Next question of law and fact, whether she's a mean person or not.
So here's my question. Did you watch any of the trial?
Very little.
I did a little bit.
I watched a little bit, but I really watched like the clips at the end where, he's claiming significant disability. And hey man, I broke my leg skiing. Like I'm completely sympathetic.
Very possible,
I
yeah.
get it. I've been through significant medical issues because of skiing. But like, he's got like, this is you hang gliding off of Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. This is you diving with sailfish off of, you're swimming with monkeys. Like all.
Yeah,
he-
cautionary tale about
Yeah.
social media.
yeah.
Huh?
But wasn't there something like,
For real.
he turned in, because of his traumatic brain injury, he turned into an incredibly unpleasant person. And I want to say that their plaintiff's expert was like, anyone who's met him will tell you
He's a real.
he's a real horrible person. I was like, this is not
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
right.
like, hold on
I
though.
feel like I heard that.
But I mean, like, that would actually, insofar as it's a TBI case, I mean, you can hang glide off Machu Picchu with a TBI. It's not a physical infirmity. It's not. I mean, it could be depending on how bad.
No. I totally understand. But
You
like,
know what I mean?
this case is not
a
a
good point.
decade old. It's years old, and he's got. Well, to his credit, he seems like he's living a really amazing,
A full life.
a really amazing freaking life with his family. And they're like, we're swimming with spider monkeys off, like,
He's jumping off of Himalayan mountains in a wingsuit.
right. And like, he's like from Switzerland to Hawaii to Florida to Machu Picchu, and you're like, man, your life is.
You don't need the money from the lawsuit.
To
Makes him
Kier's
seem
point,
real unsympathetic.
if the plaintiff put on the case of my life is over, I can't do anything, I have a TBI and all this other stuff, well, then the Machu Picchu thing is Exhibit A on a cross, right?
Absolutely.
But if they presented like, yeah, I have this TBI, I've been working so hard to get through it. In fact, I was really scared to do Machu Picchu, but I swallowed my fear to do it, and it's
yeah,
great.
it's the difference between physical impairment and cognitive impairment, right? Because if he's got mood disorders or cognitive impairment, then maybe he needs to jump off Machu Picchu in order to feel better about himself. But typically, if it's like an orthopedic or in any case, like I don't know, the fact that it's a TBI case to me means that what we would automatically sort of like Pavlovian dogs think of as being incriminating, like him jumping off Machu Picchu.
But
in a normal personal injury case might not be as relevant in a TBI case.
But we're digging too far into the details.
I would have to have a TBI to jump off Machu Picchu.
The optics for a jury is
No, I agree with
this
that.
is an incredibly wealthy person who travels the world at whim, suing another incredibly wealthy person over what?
Skiing at Park City.
The one thing I want to say
it was
about
an
this case,
accident.
though, is that the $1 countersuit is tacky. She should not have done that. I mean, I get that it didn't affect the outcome in this case, but to me, the $1 countersuit is just spiteful.
Does
nasty.
anybody know, like real quick, I really don't have any idea. Did she need to? So like in Texas jurisprudence, we have like an offer of settlement law where you can plead back into somebody. If they don't beat it, you get your attorney's fees.
Yeah.
Is that why she did that, or do you know?
I thought that there was some coverage suggesting that she was copying Taylor Swift, who had the $1 nominal damages defamation suit.
Maybe.
But I don't know exactly what theory she was countersuing under.
I mean, can you assert a counterclaim unless you claim some element of damages? Like if you say my damages
assuming
are
she was
zero, then aren't you missing an element?
I'm assuming she was counterclaiming for having been hit.
Yeah.
But did you have to claim something for it and ask for some relief?
Well, $1 in nominal damages. You hit me, you hurt me, or whatever. You shouldn't have hit me. Nominal damages of $1, which wouldn't give her any attorney's fees. Which is,
To be totally honest, it looks silly all around. Like it makes
she shouldn't have countersued. That's like David bitch slapping Goliath. It just shouldn't happen.
it makes
Or no,
lawyers
Goliath bitch slapping David. Excuse me, I said that wrong.
it makes lawyers seem silly. This lawsuit, I think, like, come on, man.
All right. We've got many more to discuss, but we've just had such an interesting.
We don't have many more time to discuss.
That's right. All right. I want to talk about two.
Go.
They're both airplane ones.
I don't know anything about airplanes.
I know that's what
I want to talk about Jerry Jones.
You do? Okay, we'll skip over to Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, a Texas woman claiming Jerry Jones is her father, sues him for defamation. And the background was this story was out a couple of months ago where there's a woman who says Jerry Jones was her father through a relationship outside of his marriage, that he had supported her. I don't know if they had a formal arrangement. And she had filed suit to ask for some type of paternity test. And then through the course of that, at least the allegation is that her lawyers are basically suggesting that she just wants money, and there's just a big shakedown to get more money. So sued him for defamation. I cannot tell. It's a Dallas case, so I believe Dallas, and we don't have access to the pleadings like we do here. But I assume it's just a case against him, and he's saying his agents are speaking on his behalf. Thoughts?
I have a couple of thoughts, and I really wanted to direct them to Maureen because she's from Missouri. And so here's my question. One, what could possibly be the reasonable standard for establishing paternity in Arkansas? Like, it's it's a free-for-all. One. Two, this gives me an opportunity to use my second favorite phrase.
What does that have to do with Missouri?
You guys border Arkansas, they're contiguous.
Well, okay.
They also border Texas.
To be fair,
Texas is
it's kind of
continuous with many
it's
other
not exactly
states.
the most fair association. To make.
Arkansas is a beautiful state.
It's like saying, we share a
a
border
natural
with Mississippi, therefore it's
only God can judge me on that score. I'm standing by what I say. I'm standing by what I say about Arkansas. Second is this gives me an opportunity to use my second favorite phrase in the entire legal profession, which is two words: bastardy proceeding. And I once had to recite on this in family law, and I kept saying bastardy proceeding. And my professor said they don't call it that anymore. It's called a SAPSR now.
SAPSR?
A suit affecting parent-child relationship. And I was like, no. We should go back to bastardy proceeding. And I mean, bottom line is
Game of Thrones style.
woo pig suey. I mean, like, really, are we fighting about? I just assumed if you were born within 30 miles of Arkansas, your paternity is automatically in dispute.
Dude, your Arkansas lawyer referral network is drying up as you speak.
Hey, man,
I'll take all the Arkansas referrals.
Yeah, just
Arkansas
direct them over
is
here.
a wonderful state.
I'm fine with all you idiots from Arkansas filing like your suits with somebody else. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Maybe the most ridiculous state. But go ahead.
I don't think anybody knows how to follow up on that.
I had a case towards the end of my.
The only
plaintiff's
thing worse than Arkansas is Dallas.
I liked Arkansas. I
Yikes.
thought
It's a beautiful state.
But fair.
And I'm going to say a very, very NPR type of thing. It has a wonderful modern art museum.
It does.
And where? Little Rock or Fayetteville, probably, or Bentonville?
It's Bentonville.
Yeah,
Sir, it's pronounced Vietnam.
got it. Well, do we have to yeah, we don't have to play them this year, so we're good.
So what's the
Based
next
on the
one?
last one. Well, the last two were just these plain ones. I mean, you guys may be interested in that or not. There's a lawsuit that's coming against Hawaiian Airlines from Mr. Hussein here in Houston. He's saying he's going to sue them. They knew that they were hitting turbulence, didn't tell anyone to sit down, didn't tell anyone to buckle up. There's like broken bones and TBIs and strains and herniations. So that's coming. And then another one was interesting. American Airlines was sued by a family of a teen that died because he went into cardiac arrest and their defibrillator was not working. And so that was
it on a plane? Or
I like
in
the second
airport?
case more than the first one, not going to lie.
yes. So apparently there's American, has had these for a while. They've saved lives, but I guess at some point they would, I don't know if they, I'm sure they'll find out. Are there protocols? How often are they supposed to inspect? How,
I feel like this is. I feel like this is not a case of first impression. Haven't we talked about some other cases where somebody got pretty big verdicts because they had a non-functioning defibrillator where the staff didn't know how to use them and somebody died?
There's got to be.
Yeah. The question is though, on these airplane cases, y'all may know, are there are arbitration clauses in the ticket or
Is it
mandatory
international?
venue?
Is it an international flight?
One was the
My
If it's an
understand-
international flight, it's under the Montreal Convention, so it's going to go into federal court automatically. Is federal question.
Well, this is what is it to Hawaii? My understanding is, and I
if it's to Hawaii, that's
was going to say I could be wrong about this. Correct me if I'm wrong. As a lawyer in the British Protectorate, Hawaii it's part of the United States.
sure.
Correct. Okay.
I mean, I
Really?
doubt that there's an
You doubted
argument.
that?
I doubt there's an argument that like if
knew
it's
that,
over,
right?
Look,
if it's
I
over
haven't-
international waters,
I haven't seen the birth certificate.
It doesn't matter what waters it's over. It matters what the point of it matters the point of departure and the point of arrival. So that's going to determine.
I
it.
read a little bit about that Hawaii turbulence case when you mentioned it before we came on, and I was surprised by a couple things. First of all, the injuries were really bad.
Yeah, it sounds bad.
It was really bad.
I mean, I don't like turbulence, but that sounds really bad.
Well, and I believe that the pilot said that the cloud shot up vertically out of nowhere, and I believe that they're going to have very complicated weather expert testimony.
Yeah, that sounds tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
the other one, the defibrillator one, was Honduras to the U.S. So
Yeah, that's going to be in federal court, so they're going to have to deal with federal courts on experts regarding the quality of the defibrillator.
Are they
and that
required
stuff.
to have the defibrillators on the planes?
Yeah.
Is that a regulatory requirement?
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know that I'm talking out of my what, but I'm sure they are required to. I would bet money on it. Don't you think
Sounds
so?
like nobody knows.
I mean,
well,
I'm pretty sure that they're
me-
required to.
according
But
to
if they do have them, then they're like they've voluntarily undertaken. So it's like a voluntary undertaking case, right? It's a negligent undertaking. So
Yes.
if you undertake to provide defibrillators, then you're required to
Provide good
provide good
defibrillators.
defibrillators.
Okay, let
so
me-
that's like the fail-safe, but I bet they're required.
I'll
Continue.
answer the question according to the Dallas Morning News.
Go
The
ahead.
Aviation Medical Assistance Act of 1998 requires airlines to have medical equipment,
Gotcha.
such as defibrillators, and train flight attendants to use the equipment.
Yeah,
according
well,
to
there
that.
you go.
yeah.
So-
I figured.
Do they have to know how to deliver babies?
That's we'll consult the
doubt it.
Aviation Medical Assistance Act.
I'll
I
do that
highly
offline.
doubt it.
Like, what can you expect your airline attendant to do?
To have functioning defibrillators, in my opinion.
If I can just get like some salted nuts and a ginger ale, I'm calling it a successful flight.
What would be interesting actually is if that rule that requires them to have the equipment also limits their liability in any respect.
It could.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a
You
federal
know,
case.
you know
That's
who
gonna
knows the
get-
answer.
That's
No-
going to get
know
worked
me,
up in
Hussein?
federal court. It's going to be interesting because you've got the Montreal Convention on the international flight.
Yep.
So that affects the valuation of the case potentially, or at least just sort of the tactical situation.
All right. Final question for the night. Montreal. Speaking French or English?
Oui, we're speaking French.
Ladies and
En
gentlemen,
français.
thank you for joining the Dirty Verdict for a just amazing trip. We talked about dogs. We talked about philosophy. We talked about
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. We talked about France. What a night. Thank you for joining us. And really special thanks to our guests,
Glad to be here.
Maureen and Angus. You guys really did a fantastic
That
job.
was so fun.
Thanks so
Good
much.
stuff.
We'll have you back. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks for joining us this week at the Dirty Verdict Podcast. For links to some of the stories discussed today, please visit our website, www.dirtyverdict.com. If you have obtained a recent verdict and want us to discuss it, please email details on the verdict to us. Also, please follow us wherever you get your podcasts.